Hi friends, it's Paster Veronica here, and I am going to be sharing a devotion with you today. And first, I want to apologize. Normally, I would be signing in at 11:30, but unfortunately, I was dealing with some technical difficulties, so I could not get it to sign in like it normally does. And then the video was freezing up, which would not have been very pleasant. So I'm trying again. If you happen to have caught the feed that started right at 11:30, it was really messed up, so it's been deleted. Don't panic. You are in the right place if you found this one. We are continuing our devotional Digging Deeper look into When God is Silent by Barbara Brown Taylor. And this is it's not really a book as much as it is a collection of sermons that Barbara Brown Taylor, who is an Episcopalian priest and author, that she created for a presentation, a lecture series at Yale Divinity School. And so um, this was written in 1997, and even though it's been around for a little while, it is not it is timeless. And so what that means is that so much of what she shares in this series is still very powerful and very meaningful. And so I'm excited to share some excerpts with you. Of course, I obviously hope that you'll get your own copy. It's available from Cloister Books, and the publishing company is Cowley Publications. So if you want to get yourself a copy of When God is Silent by Barbara Brown Taylor, I would love to encourage you to do so. So we have actually moved to chapter 2 of her writing, and this chapter is called Silence. And one of my favorite chapters is this particular chapter, and I want to read to you just the first few pages. There are some just really amazing. This is just some really amazing writing that I think is incredibly impactful now. There are a few references to some things that are a little bit dated. She does talk about pagers. And we don't use those anymore, or at least I haven't seen anybody with a pager in a long time. So let's begin. There are fewer and fewer oases of silence in our noisy world. Communication has higher value for us than contemplation. Information is in greater demand than reflection. There was a time when only doctors wore pagers, and the only person who carried a telephone around with him was the President of the United States in case of nuclear attack. Now, we are all that important. We can be found anywhere at any time by anyone who needs us. When a pager goes off in a room full of people, a banner unfurls above the wearer's head. I am necessary. I am involved in something so urgent it cannot wait. Sometimes it is our own need to communicate that is urgent. One talkative friend of mine had his brand new car phone disconnected the day after his first bill arrived. He had no idea that the cure for his loneliness on the road could cost him $1,000 a month. I read about someone else who has lodged a complaint with the National Park Service about the use of cellular phones in the wilderness. It seems that his long-awaited trek to a landmark peak was ruined for him when a fellow traveler to the top whipped out his cordless and began describing the view to his children, who were apparently reluctant to be torn away from the television show they were watching at home. The Park Service was sympathetic, since they had begun to receive more and more calls from hikers with cellular phones. Very few are genuine emergencies. The majority are from people who have gotten lost and want to be guided back to their cars by telephone, or who have developed painful blisters on their feet and want someone to come and pick them up. It is more and more difficult for us to choose silence when communication is possible. To let the telephone ring, to leave the email unread, to unplug the fax machine. These amount to acts of social sabotage. To choose silence for even an hour, we must risk the loss of connection with other people who may have had a hard time understanding how anything could be more important to us than responding to them. We must also handle our own sense of anxiety. What if that is a call from the fire department, from the hospital, from someone who wants to invite me to dinner? For some of us, silence provokes so much internal chatter that it cancels itself out. True silence is difficult to achieve, even at night when most of the world is asleep. A dedicated insomniac can count at least half a dozen engines running in the dark. The refrigerator, the water heater, the ice maker, the furnace, the expressway noise that sounds like pounding surf at 2 in the morning, the distant roar of an airplane passing overhead. Depending on who you are, these sounds may be comforting. They mean everything is working. In the world of machines, silence signals malfunction. Remember the last time your electricity went off and all the sounds stopped just like that? So that's all the section I am going to read for today. It's quite long, I suppose. But the reason I wanted to read this is because it's such a good introduction to this section about silence. What I really appreciate is, even though it's a little timely, when we're talking about things like fax machines and car phones, that's not really, people don't even use the language of cordless anymore. Even though there's a little bit of that, as a whole, there's something true about this that we hear, that sort of everyone understands that, even if you're thinking about today, and we don't use pagers and fax machines quite as much, but think about our phones, right? I have a smartphone. Mine's in a fancy case with a pop socket on the back. We have our phones everywhere with us. They travel with us. They go in our vehicles with us whenever we leave the house. And in fact, for many people, our smartphones are attached to us in some way, that they're always in our pocket or purse, and they're often found in our hands, and we go nowhere without them. In fact, it's not unusual to hear someone say, when they leave their home and they leave their cell phone, or they leave their cell phone at work and go home, or whatever it is, that when they leave their cell phone behind, it feels like they've lost a part of their body, that they sort of no longer feel connected to other human beings. And a lot of that is because on our phones, no longer is a phone about, there's a little button in the bottom with a phone symbol, but my phone is not just for talking on the phone, for conversations like this. My phone is for sending text messages. It's for sharing pictures, doing video chats, checking email. My smartphone has a calculator and a camera. It has internet access. It has maps. It has an encyclopedia. I've got a Bible app on my phone. There are so many things that we use our phones for that it really is hard to cut ourselves off from them, to separate ourselves from the technology and take a break from it. And I do think that so often we get caught up in, am I necessary? Am I important? Am I going to miss out on something because I separate myself from this technology? I imagine that there are quite a few people who can't go a day without checking email. And it's funny because it feels like a habit, something you have to do. And then when you don't do it, you sort of feel wrong about not doing it. One of my things that I am so grateful for is that my family decided, when we went on our first family cruise earlier this year, long before COVID, that we would put our cell phones, our smartphones, these, inside the safe of our room on our ship, our cruise ship. And so we locked them in the safe with our passports and wallets, and we kept them there. And we brought a regular camera with us, so we didn't have to have the excuse of using a cell phone for a camera. But we had a camera with us, and we used that to take pictures, and we just were really fully present with each other. There was no checking email or text messaging or being on social media. There was no talking on the phone. It was just being present with each other and with our family. And I will tell you that the first day or two, it was hard. I would reach my pocket and be like, oh, wait, oh, I don't have my phone with me. It's in the safe. And after the first day or two, it just didn't matter anymore. There was a time where we lived without these portable computers in our pockets. And there are still plenty of people who don't have them. My dad does not have a smartphone, and he says that he will never have a smartphone. That's what he declares. And so he doesn't have that attachment to it. He can go fishing and leave his cell phone at home and not think twice about it. And so we've gotten so accustomed to having this constant connection, this constant need for communicating and interacting with other people, that we've forgotten what it's like to just exist and just be. And so often I wonder if the noise of these devices, and I don't even mean, the ringtones that we choose, but the flashing light that says we have a message, the ring that says someone's calling us, the vibration that says you got an email, whatever it is, that 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 noise gets in the way of our connection to God. That we can't hear God because all we can hear is this constant stream of text message, Facebook message, tweet, email, phone call, alert on TikTok of a new video, of all these different things that we access, that we miss out on some of the beautiful, wonderful, amazing things that God wants to share with us, because we're so caught up in all of that other stuff. I look forward to digging deeper into this particular chapter with all of you, because I just want you to know how amazing it is. There's so much in this particular chapter that just speaks to where we are today. And I think it's especially important to hear when we are living in a time where all of our close personal connections with other human beings are taking place over the internet, from video chats to Facebook devotionals to YouTube worship services to Zoom meetings. We are relying on technology to be our form of communication, and we are suffering because of it. And so I look forward to digging deeper into that with all of you, because it really does, even though there are things that are being talked about here that are very, very unique to the time of when they were written in the 90s, there are some things here that are timeless, that really do apply to us and what we are experiencing and the way we are living right now. And I think it's important to dig deeper into things that might be hard for us to realize, for us to look at this language of, how difficult silence is for us, and to do some self-reflection and go, wow, is that true for me? Do I struggle to put the phone down and leave it in another room? Do I struggle to not check my email 10 times a day? Can I go a whole entire day without being on social media? Can I go a week? Can I go a month? All of these things are things we should be thinking about, particularly right now. So I want to encourage you to come back and join me. This same devotion will be posted again later today. So if you joined in late, don't worry about it. It'll be back up at 6:45, and you can listen in then and provide your feedback and comments as well. And I'll be here to moderate those conversations as they happen. But I want you to think about how powerful our need to communicate can be, and what it's like to really sit in the silence. It's a hard thing. It can be really challenging for us. It's so difficult to choose silence. I don't know if you've ever been in a presentation or worship service where the speaker or pastor has paused, and they pause for an effect, like they're pausing because they want your attention. I cannot tell you the number of times that I've paused for effect, and in those few moments of silence, people just assume that I've screwed up, that I've lost my place, or I've made a mistake, I don't know where I am, or I have forgotten what I'm going to do. And that's not even true, that it's really just a time for me to pause, take a deep breath, and refocus the attention of the other people that are there. And that is something people really struggle with. is sitting in these even intentional times of silence. So I look forward to really looking at what Barbara Brown Taylor has to say in this chapter in particular, in her chapter on silence. And I encourage you to get your own copy of When God is Silent by Barbara Brown Taylor, this collection of sermons from her lecture series at Yale Divinity School. Is absolutely amazing and powerful and so helpful for exploring our own spirituality and faith and the way we live in the world and approach the world around us. So I encourage you to get yourself a copy as well. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. And remember, God loves you, and so do I. Have a great day.